Namaste. Good afternoon. This is Dr. Aparna. I am your emotional healing synergist. I am an Ayurvedic psychotherapist, a passionate infopreneur, edupreneur, medical writer, and now a budding YouTuber. So, in my pursuit to address, promote, and propagate Ayurveda and psychotherapy globally, I come up with discussions on Ayurveda, mental health, psychotherapy, and other related aspects. So, in my, in continuation, I did a book review on Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy uh, in the last session. So in today's session, I'm going to talk through another amazing book, that is Atomic Habits by James Clear. So why am I doing this book series is I thought of doing at least five book series, five book reviews and book summaries of at least five books, so that I can also, it gives me a chance to go back to my favorite books, which I had read a couple of years ago, and I can revise through that books, and I can discuss those, whatever my points and highlights or notable insights, whatever I've made, the summary of that, and discuss with you. And it is also helpful in, we talk about transformation and self transformation, the emotional metamorphosis aspect. This is also one kind of emotional metamorphosis. So here in emotional, metamorphosis, series, like, by transforming ourselves for the emotional wisdom, these books also play an important role, at least it has in my life. So this book is all about atomic habits. So, without wasting time, let's get started. So, what does this book, talk about? See, Atomic Habits by James Clear is a comprehensive, practical guide on how to change your habits and get 1% better every day. It talks about changing the habits. The name itself suggests that, atomic means tiny or minute. So, how to change our habits and get 1% better every day. So using a framework called the four laws of behavior change, Atomic Habits teaches us, a simple set of rules for creating good habits and breaking bad ones. So this book actually teaches us, few simple set of rules, for creating good habits and breaking the bad ones. So, what are the? I have made some notes regarding what are the lessons. Matlab, what do we learn from this book? So, small habits make a big difference. That means it is easy to overestimate the importance of one defining moment and underestimate the value of making small improvements on a daily basis. Here, this book talks about small improvements on a daily basis. See, meanwhile, improving by 1% every day isn't particularly notable. We can't note the 1%, or it is not, it is not visible, the 1% improvement. But sometimes it isn't even noticeable, but it can be meaningful. How? Especially in the long run. In the long run, if we make those minute changes, there may be a drastic improvement in the long run, potentially in the long run. So the difference a tiny improvement can make over time is astounding, like it is huge. So, what is the maths behind this? If you ask that, if I get, Aparna, if I get 1% better each day for 1 year, then what will happen is you will end up with 37 times better by the time you are done. So in 1 year you can get 37 times better of what you were. This book says that, you know that means it is just like compound interest. See, conversely, if for the vice versa, if you have to consider that you are getting 1% worse each day for 1 year, you will decline nearly down to zero. Where if I if you know if a person gets 1% worse each day instead of getting better, if a person gets worse each day, then in 1 year the our it will decline to nearly to zero. So what starts as a small win or a minor setback accumulates into something much more. So it doesn't matter how successful or unsuccessful you are right now. What matters is what your habits are putting you on the path towards success. So what it says is, focus on getting 1% better every day. So I'll tell you about how to get 1% better every day. See, next thing this book talks about is why I read this book is forget about setting goals. Focus on the system instead. We always talk about goals and what is the destination, but here James Clear says that focus on the system instead. That means focus on the process. So goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results. That means if you are having trouble changing your habits, the problem isn't you. The problem is your system. Bad habits repeat themselves again and again, not because you don't want to change, but because you have the wrong system for the change. So the process is not in place. It is, he says, that bad habits repeat themselves again because it is not because a person doesn't want to change, because the system which they are operating, the habits, that is wrong. That means you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. This is what the quote James Clear gives in this book. So the third thing this talks about is how to build better habits in 4 simple steps. So this is what is called, this section of the atomic habit summary, is like actionable strategy. So that is called by him as 4 laws of behavioral change. The process of building a habit can be divided into 4 simple steps. That is cue, craving, response, and reward. What he says is cue. One is cue, second is craving, third is response, fourth is reward. So, breaking down into these fundamental parts can help us understand what a habit is, how it works, and how to improve it. The habit loop, he says. First is cue, second is craving, third is response, fourth is reward. That is called a habit loop. So, the cue triggers a craving, which motivates a response, which provides a reward, which satisfies the craving and ultimately becomes associated with the cue. So, I will explain this, with examples and while I talk about the chapters with examples and practical life examples and explanations. So what happens is the cue triggers a craving, then the craving motivates a response, which provides a reward. We'll talk about the examples as well, which satisfy the then what happens is which satisfies the craving and ultimately becomes associated with the cue. See, we can transform these 4 steps into a practical framework. So I don't understand what is. Q is make it obvious. Craving is make it attractive. Response is make it easy. Reward is make it satisfying. So how do you do that? If if a person has to eat if he or she wants to start a healthy diet plan, so what is the first thing? The cue is make it obvious. That means he or she has to place all the items, like the healthy food or the diet what he or she wants to eat. That means the fruits, the vegetables, the protein sources, and whatever the person wants to take, it should be visible. It should be visible. Make it obvious is make it completely visible in front of your eyes. If it is in front of your eyes, you tend to eat it more. The next thing is craving. After q is craving. So what is the craving? When will it the cue be a craving? When it will be attractive. That means if you learn to make some healthy salads or some healthy recipes, including all the nutrients and micronutrients, you have to make that healthy dish attractive. When you make that attractive, it is easy for you to eat that. And when you have a craving. For the cue there is a craving. Next is the response. So the response is make it easy. So instead of having to go through everything, like if you keep 10 items to go through everything, make it easy is make that food into one or two dishes, so it is easy for you to consume. you know it is easy for you to consume, and you can make a list of what are you going to prepare each week, and it is easy to consume for you. And next what happens is, when what is the reward after you do after you complete that response? Give yourself a reward, a piece of dark chocolate or a healthy option as a reward, so that it becomes make it satisfying, so it becomes satisfying. So you will have the urge to do it again and again. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. So this is how you create a habit. So you're rewarding yourself in the final thing. So that becomes make it satisfying. So how to break a bad habit? Ulta of this. Make it invisible. The first cue is make it invisible. If you have to eat healthy, then make all your junk invisible. Don't buy the junk. Make it invisible. Then second is make it unattractive. Third is make it difficult. The exact opposite of what we did in building a habit, we are doing the exact opposite to breaking a bad habit. When we make it difficult, it becomes unsatisfying. So make it invisible, make it unattractive, make it difficult, and make it unsatisfying. Make it difficult in the sense, don't go and buy it, don't have it at your home itself. Then it will be difficult for you to go every time and run errands and get the junk to for you to eat. Then it becomes unsatisfying. So don't you if you eat junk, then what you do is you give a minor punishment is not severe. That is just a thing that you're not gonna eat for maybe for 2 months unhealthy things. So that this is the thing. So how to create a good habit, how to break a bad habit, both things are being discussed in this book. So what they are telling is make time for new habits when life gets crazier, overcome a lack of motivation and willpower, design your environment to make success easier. I will talk about the environment when we talk about the chapters. Get back on track when you fall, of course. So to bounce back, this also talks about how do you bounce back. So atomic habits will reshape the way you think about progress and success, and give you the tools and strategies you need to transform your habits. So the atomic habits book will help you reshape the way you think and progress, about progress and success, and give you the tools and strategies you need to transform your habits. So every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. So every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. So no single instance will transform your beliefs. So no single instance is something very instant, or one time thing will not transform your beliefs. But as the votes build up, that work builds up, then so does the evidence of your new identity. So if you want to transform yourself, there is no single instant which will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. That means one person doing better each day, in the long run it will give you a potential good results. So this is what is being told. That was the quote I quoted from the book. So now we come to the full book summary of the book. So when we are talking of the full book summary here, um, it talks about the science of habit formation and practical strategies for positive and lasting changes. So this book has almost 20 chapters. See, this book has 20 chapters, and we'll go through each chapter and briefly, that whatever I have made the highlights, or collected the points, so we'll go through them. And we'll just know whatever is in the book, whatever interesting is in the book. So James Clear introduces the concept of atomic habits. That means small incremental changes that lead to significant transformations over time. He emphasizes the power of compound growth in habits. So the first chapter here is the surprising power of tiny habits. The surprising power of tiny habits. So what is there in this book briefly? So James Clear introduces the concept of atomic habits. So what are atomic habits? Which are small incremental changes that lead to significant improvements over time. That means instead of aiming to run a marathon overnight, start by jogging for a few minutes each day and gradually increase the duration. That is what ultimately he means. The example is, instead of a person aiming to run a marathon overnight, start by jogging for a few minutes each day and gradually increase the duration. So he says that success is the product of daily habits, not once in a lifetime transformation. So you should be far more concerned with your current trajectory than with your current results. He talks about the process again. He says that a person should be far more concerned with their current trajectory, not with the current results. So concentrate on the process, not on the result. So your outcomes are a lagging measure of your habits. That's what he says. Your net worth is a lagging measure of your financial habits. Your weight is a lagging measure of your eating habits. Your knowledge is a lagging measure of your learning habits. Your clutter is a lagging measure of your cleaning habits. You get what you repeat. So he says that whatever you get is whatever you repeat. That means time magnifies the margin between success and failure. It will multiply. He's talking about the compound interest in getting 1% better every day. It will multiply whatever you feed it. That means good habits make time your ally. It becomes like a friend to you, and bad habits make time your enemy. So goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes about that lead to those results. So if you want to predict where you will end up in life, all you have to do is follow the curve of tiny gains or tiny losses. That means, and see how your daily choices will compound 10 or 20 years down the line. He says that you have to what you have to all you have to do is, curve of follow the curve of tiny gains or tiny losses. That means see how your daily choices, all your daily habits and your daily choices will compound over 10 to 20 years down the line. So, breakthrough moments are often the results of many previous actions which build up the potential required to unleash a major change. So, breakthrough moments, whatever breakthrough moments we have in our life, that happen in our life, they are result of previous actions. That means they build up over a potential period of time, and that needs to that means a major change happens by tiny incremental changes or progressions. So if you find yourself struggling to build a good habit or break a bad one, it is not because you have lost your ability to improve. It is often because you have not yet crossed the plateau of latent potential. He talks about the plateau of your latent potential. That is overnight success. People will call it an overnight success. So there is nothing called as overnight success. That means the per the purpose of setting goal is to win the game. I'm reading the quotes important, that means the important quotes from the book, what I felt is important and noteworthy. The purpose of building systems is to continue playing the game. That means true long term thinking is goalless thinking. It is not about any single accomplishment. It is about the cycle of endless refinement and continuous improvement. So, ultimately, it is your commitment to the process that will determine your progress. So, it is the commitment. What is the summary of this chapter is, it is the commitment to the process that will determine the progress. That means habits are the compound interest of self improvement. So, next, getting 1% better every day counts a lot in the long run. That means habits are a double edged sword. They can work for you or against you, which is why understanding the details is essential. See, small changes often appear to make no difference until you cross a critical threshold, until there is a potential time period and a potential change. Small changes often appear to make no difference. The most powerful outcomes of any compounding process are delayed. You need to be patient. So an atomic habit is a little habit that is part of a larger system. Just as atoms are the building blocks of molecules, atomic habits are the building blocks of remarkable results. That means atomic the tiny habits or the tiny improvements or the tiny changes that we make every day are the building blocks of the remarkable results. If you want better results, then forget about setting goals, focus on the system instead. So you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems, that is processes. That is what he says in the chapter 1. So chapter 1, as we discussed and all important points, the surprising power of tiny habits. And the second chapter now is how your habits shape your identity and vice versa. If you have good habits, how does it lead to good identity? And if you have bad habits, you develop bad habits, it leads to bad identity. That means there is a clear emphasis on that our habits are intertwined with our identity, and changing our habits requires a shift in how we perceive ourselves. So he says that changing our habits requires a shift in how we perceive ourselves. That means if you want to become a writer, suppose, start by thinking of yourself as a writer. So you have to think that you are already a writer, then establish the habit of writing regularly. Then if you establish the habit of writing regularly, say you write every day, you write 5 pages, so that in in 10 days it is 50 pages. If you have to write a 150 pages book in a month, so you write 5 pages every day, so in 30 days you will finish your 150 pages book. So that is, you do small changes. But first you have to think that you are a writer. If you want to start writing, then only if you establish the habit of writing, then you will actually become you will not only develop the habit of writing, but you will become a good writer. That means he says that habits are intertwined. That means our habits are connected to our identity. Changing our habits, requires a shift in how we perceive ourselves. So changing our habits is challenging for two reasons. Why is changing our habits challenging? We try to change the wrong thing. Firstly, we try to change our habits in a wrong way. So he says, changing the habits becomes challenging because we try to change the wrong thing, and we try to change our habits in a wrong way. So that means what he says is there are three layers of behavior change. So how? A change in your outcome, a change in your process, a change in your identity. So when there is a change in your identity, there will be change in your processes, then there will be change in the outcomes. This is what he want to talk about. He emphasizes on in the book, in the second chapter. So outcomes are about what you get, processes are about what you do, identity is about what you believe. So what are outcomes? Outcomes are what you get. Processes, for that you have to have processes. So processes are what you do, identity is what you believe. That means what you believe is what you do, and what you do is what you get. It is just very simple. So with outcome based habits, the focus is on what you want to achieve. See, if you have outcome based habits, the focus is always on what you want to achieve. But with the identity based habits, the focus is on who you wish to become. So there is a difference, what you want to achieve and who you wish to become. Here, outcome based habits and identity based habits. He talks about identity based habits. So developing identity based habits. So the ultimate form of intrinsic motivation is when a habit becomes a part of your identity. That means a habit is connected to what we are. you know it becomes your identity. Exercising, having a healthy diet plan, having a professional routine and a personal routine, if it is in your habit, if it becomes your habit, and then it becomes your if it becomes your identity, and then it becomes your habit, so they both are interconnected. So it is a simple two step process. That means decide the type of person you want to be, prove it yourself with small wins. So decide a person, the type of person you want to be. So he's talking about identity based here. So decide the type of person you want to be. How? Prove it to yourself with small wins. So set tiny, by tiny improvements every day, you achieve small wins. If you, for example, if you work out for 30 minutes 5 days, so it is for 1 week, it is for 7 days, it is 150 minutes of exercise. It is a small win to start with. So he's telling that to be a healthy person, you have started the process. That is what it is, he explains. So ask yourself, who is the type of person that could get the outcome I want? So the most effective way to change your habits is to focus on not on what you want to achieve, but on who you wish to become. That means your identity emerges out of your habits. Every action is a vote for the type of a person you wish to become. So becoming the best version of yourself, you requires you to continuously edit your beliefs and upgrade and expand your identity. So he talks about becoming the best version of ourselves. What it requires is continuously edit our beliefs, to continuously edit our beliefs and to upgrade and expand our identity, that who we wish to become. So the real reason here in the habits matter is not because they can get you better results, but because they can change your beliefs about yourself. Once you thought that you can never exercise, you can never get lean, but lean is more than lean, you can never get healthy. But here, because the real reason habits matter is not because they can get you better results, but because they can change your beliefs about yourself. That means you have that they will change your beliefs. So that means if you're working out for 30 minutes, let's say for 5 days a week, it is a 150-minute of exercise. The 150-minute of exercise for a year or two will change your belief about yourself. That means you are showing yourself that you can be extremely healthy. This may be applicable to any personal, professional thing. So it is not only about the exercise, it may be about the diet, it may be about the professional goals, it may be about what you wish to become professionally, it may be about relationship goals. Anything can be done through building, one getting 1% better each day. So how to build, the chapter 3 talks about. So this is we discussed chapter 2, that is how your habits shape your identity. And now we are going to discuss chapter 3, that is how to build better habits in four simple steps. The four simple steps we have already talked about. I'm just going to repeat it. So building better habits in four simple steps is, see, James Clear introduces the four stages of habit formation, that is cue, craving, response, and reward. That is habit loop. He calls it as habit loop. So, if you want to develop a reading habit, that is, if you want to develop a response, set a specific time each day. Cue, I want to read for dash minutes. So, if you set 15 minutes for first day, that is a cue to read, and create a cozy reading nook. So create an environment that will force you to read every day for 20 minutes. That is a craving. And reward yourself with a treat after each session. So as I said, you have to reward yourself with a treat after each session. So what happens is, what is that I said, q is, make it obvious. So you have to think, how can I make it obvious? Craving is, how can I make it attractive? And response is, how can I make it easy? And reward is, how can I make it satisfying? How can I make it obvious? How can I make it attractive? How can I make it easy? And how can I make it satisfying? That means a habit is a behavior that has been repeated enough times to become automatic. So habit is a behavior. What is a habit? He defines a habit that it is a behavior that has been repeated enough times to become automatic. That means, we have heard that if you do, if you cultivate a habit for 21 days, that becomes automatic. So he says that a habit is a behavior that has been repeated enough times to become automatic. That next is, the ultimate purpose of habits is to solve the problems of life with as little energy and effort as possible. So we are doing tiny increments. So the ultimate purpose of cultivating habits is what? To solve the problems of life with little energy and effort as possible. So any habit can be broken down into a feedback loop that involves four steps. That means whatever we talked about: cue, craving, response, and reward. So he talks about this. This is the chapter 3. So how to build better habits in 4 steps. So the next chapter, chapter 4, talks about the man who didn't look right. So the this chapter, illustrates it discusses the power of, environment in shaping our habits, emphasizing that a well designed environment can support positive behavior. So it talks about the importance of a well designed environment. That means if you aim to eat healthier, keep fruits and vegetables visible, as I said, and easily accessible in your kitchen, and store less healthy options out of your sight or do not have them. So if you are having trouble determining how to rate a particular habit, ask yourself, so what to ask: does this behavior help me become the person I wish to be? So if you eat healthy, if you exercise, if you sleep well, if you are productive, you have to ask a question: does my habit or does my behavior help me becoming the type of person I wish to become? If the answer is yes, then you have to go ahead with it. That means with enough practice, your brain will pick up on the cues that predict certain outcomes without consciously thinking about it. So once it becomes a practice, your brain will pick up the cues. That means you don't have to consciously think about, building that habit. Once it becomes your habit, it becomes automatic. That means once our habits becomes automatic, we stop paying attention to what we are doing. So the process of our behavior change always starts with awareness. You need to be aware of your habits before you can change them. That means pointing and calling raises your level of awareness from a non-conscious habit to a more conscious level led by verbalizing your actions. That means the habit scorecard is a simple exercise you can use to become more aware of your behavior. Habit scorecard is a scorecard you keep. You rate yourself that what if you want to cultivate a habit of healthy eating, what is the score today? Did you eat healthy today? You can rate yourself by this. It will help to make you a habit, develop a habit much easier, because you're seeing that you're rating yourself whatever you are doing the best way. So this is the chapter 4. The chapter 4 is the man who didn't look right. So the chapter 5 here is the best way to start a new habit. He talks about the best way to start a new habit. That means here it is said that starting with a habit that requires minimal effort, then gradually increasing its complexity over time. So if you have to if if you have to get healthy, you have to eat healthy. If you plan of eating healthy, so what you do is that means you have to develop that habit that requires minimal effort. So starting, if you want to, suppose if you want to establish a meditation practice, so start with just 2 minutes each day. Once this becomes a consistent habit, then gradually extend the duration. That means if a person wants to start a meditation practice, he or she would do that for 2 or 3 minutes each day. Once this 2 or 3 minutes becomes consistent habit, gradually you can extend the duration. That means the first law of behavior change is make it obvious. Many people think they lack motivation. What they lack is lack of clarity. people think that I am not motivated enough. So but he says, James Clear says, that what they actually lack is clarity. That means, what do you actually want, what are you actually looking for? That means, um one of the best ways to build a new habit is to identify a current habit you already do each day, and then stack your new behavior on the top. This is called habit stacking. So, habit, he's talking about habit stacking in this chapter. That means, what you do is, if you have to build a new habit, so you have to identify a current habit you already do each day, then stack your new behavior on top. That means, he gives the habit stacking formula here. After the current habit, I will, so if you are currently, watching if you are currently watching news, suppose, and you want to build a habit of reading, that means, after watching news, I am gonna read. So after watching news for 20 minutes, I am gonna read for 15 minutes or 20 minutes. So this is called habit stacking. You make a rule that after watching the news, that is the current habit, you watch news regularly, but you have to cultivate the habit of reading. So after watching news for 20 minutes, I will read 5 to 10 pages, whatever you make. I will read for 15 minutes every day. So this is called habit stacking. So and or if you are currently eating, and you have to, you want to build the habit of walking. So after my dinner or lunch, for these many minutes, I will walk for 20 minutes, or I will walk for 20 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you can start with, you start with that. So the creating an implementation intention is a strategy that you can't use to pair a new habit with a specific time and location. So the implementation, he gives the implementation intention formula. So habit stacking is a strategy that you can use to pair a new habit with a current habit. As I said, after the current habit, I will start with the new habit, this. And he gives the implementation intention formula as well. I will do this in this time, in this location. So you have to have the specific thing. I will walk for 10 minutes in the park, whatever. You should have a clarity, you should have, that is the implementation intention formula. Next, sixth chapter is motivation is overrated. That means, environment often matters more. People talk about motivation, motivation, motivation. Here he says that, you know he argues that relying solely on motivation is unreliable, and designing your environment to support your goals is often a more effective approach. So here the example is, instead of depending on motivation to exercise, join a gym or set up a workout area to home to at home to create a supportive environment. For every habit you need to form, you have to create a supportive environment. So see, depending on just the motivation to exercise, is somebody motivating me, I am exercising? No. What you do is, you create an environment. Either you join a gym, either in home you set up some equipments and make it a workout area, so that you are creating a supportive environment to start exercising. So environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior, he says this. So small changes in the context can lead to large changes in behavior over time. So every habit is initially by a cue. We are more likely to notice cues that stand out. So make the cues of good habits obvious in your environment, and then make it obvious. That means you can see the equipments, you have the notes that I have to exercise for so and so minutes at so and so location every day. You have that board or something with you, so that you are making it obvious. So from now you're just gonna exercise. This is actually, I'm giving an example, this is applicable in personal, professional and relationship fields also. You can take various examples and do that. So gradually your habits become associated not with a single trigger, but the entire context surrounding the behavior. The context becomes the cue here. So it is easier to build new habits in a new environment because you are not fighting against the old cues. So James Clear says that it is easier to build new habits in new environment because you are not fighting against old cues. So what all we learned today is, we have discussed 6 chapters. There are 20 chapters in the book, so we are gonna discuss all the other chapters in the next session. Meanwhile, we are gonna revise that what this talks about is small habits make a big difference. Forget about setting goals, focus on the system and the process instead. So it talks about the habit loop, the cue, craving, reward and response, and the 4 laws of behavior change. That means make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy and make it satisfying. So these are the 6 chapters we have discussed. In the next session I'm going to discuss the other chapters, that means the 7 to 20th chapter. So let me know how did you think of the session, and you know let me know of your views, if you have read the book and what you felt and any insights you have. So thank you for staying tuned, and I'll see you in the next session. Namaste.